Hi, my name is Travis Lindsay, and I'm here for the Center for Entrepreneurship to interview a team of students who recently did extremely well in a statewide competition and actually also won a university competition. So I don't know how you guys want to do this. You want to introduce each of yourselves in turn, and then we could get into the questions. Cesar, why don't you start us off? Introduce yourself.
Yeah, Cesar, been at Cal State Fullerton a year and a half. I'm a junior in computer engineering and also grabbing a minor in computer science. Hand it off to Rohan here.
Yeah, I'm Rohan Kunchala. I'm a computer science major, undergrad here at Cal State Fullerton.
Very good. And Alan?
Hi, yeah, I'm Alan. I'm a computer science major here at Cal State Fullerton. This is my third year now, and yeah, we'll see where that goes.
All right, sounds good. So all of you, our viewers are mostly on the entrepreneurship side, business side. So they probably noticed something, that was a through point for all of you guys. You're not business students. So how exactly did you guys, come up with this business concept and do so well in the competition? Whichever one of you wants to take that one.
Yeah, honestly, Travis, it didn't start as a business thing for us. It started as we saw this poster in the computer science building about the engineering social justice competition. And, I was like, this is really cool. This is something that we should participate in because of the fact that you're trying to help community while also using what you're good at. And, that's kind of how things started. So I got Alan on board, got Cesar on board, and then we started sort of plotting down what we wanted to work on, and we settled on this food pantry, food bank thing because we used the pantry ourselves, Cesar and I did, and realized there was inconsistencies there in the system. And so, after that, we started working on it and did really well at ESJ. Got an email from Professor Tekchandani about, perhaps working on the Sunstone thing, and we pitched to this panel of professors, and they said they selected us out of, I guess, whoever else they were interviewing. And then we started prepping really hard for Sunstone, and then we obviously went and did pretty well.
And it was a lot of help from Greenberg, Jackson, and Miller, understanding what we really had to prepare to pitch this idea, since obviously we don't know anything about business. So getting the fundamentals down, all right, how would you make a financial projection for the next couple of years, and how would you break that down in a pitch? There was a lot of help from them.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things you guys might know, a lot of startups, they start similarly, right? It's computer science people, it's engineers. They see a problem and they start developing a solution for it. The business people start coming in a little bit later. But yeah, this is fantastic. So what were some of the things that you had to get up to speed on the business side?
Oh my God, where do we start?
Wherever you want.
Yeah, I remember when we first started talking to Atul, Dr. Tekchandani, he was like, you know what, guys, you have a good product, so our team will help you on the business side of things. So I figured he'd help us with the pricing or something, but when our real first introduction to this was actually me and Alan, we were in a meeting with Professor Miller, and I remember I had spent the whole night before just creating this 8-page document with Cesar and Alan's help that was breaking down our per unit price for what we would charge a pantry. And I show up to Professor Miller's appointment with Alan, and I'm like, oh, so did you take a look at our document? He said no. And he took a look at it, he's like, this is not what I was looking for. And the next 2 hours, he just in front of me, he just created this whole forecasting model. He had another model that he used to project all of our expenses as a scale to growth, which I had not done. And that was our first real look at things of what it means to plan for a product, plan for a business. You have to forecast for growth. You have to forecast for all sorts of expenses that you wouldn't have thought of, things like legal, things like accounting. He started talking about things like sweat equity and sort of what a safe might be, what a convertible note would be. That's Jeff Greenberg brought some of those things up. And then obviously there was other market related things like TAM, SAM, SOM, total addressable market, serviceable bill market. So there really wasn't, we went in with about as the most baseline knowledge you could have for what the business aspect of a business or a product would be. And we spent, 3 weeks just constantly sort of coming to face with new things, new terms. And, as Cesar had said, we wouldn't be able to do that without those professors helping us.
Alan, how about you? What were some of the things that you had to overcome in this competition?
Well, I suppose personally, definitely the number side, right? Because at least for me, I'm a very visual person. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but all the mock-ups, that's something I've created. I was very hands-on with the slides and such, trying to make it as pretty as possible. And well, I don't know, when you first see a few Excel sheets, it really scares you. It makes you run the opposite direction. But as Rohan and Cesar said, all the professors' assistants has really made it at least straightforward as much as possible for, someone such as myself to, clearly understand what's going on and how to structure our sort of presentation.
Yeah, no, I feel your pain a little bit, right? So yeah, looking at those spreadsheets, those financials, it's a little bit like looking into the matrix. It's just a bunch of numbers, and if you don't know what they mean, it's like you're trying to, figure out something like decipher a language that you've never seen before, nobody's ever seen before. So I get it, that is tough. Personally, I kind of like it a little bit, but I'm a little weird that way. The name of the company is Bagit. It's bag/git. So it's a bit of a pun, but that's good. I mean, it seems like everybody who starts a business, the name is, unique in some way. So tell the people, what exactly do you guys do with Bagit?
Yeah. Okay, so essentially, the ecosystem, the way it works is food banks are suppliers. They're the warehouse people. They have a ton of food. They ship out the food to food pantries. Food pantries are where you and I would go to get our food. And so what Baguette does is it's an application that connects sort of the 3 phases of that system. Because as it is right now, there's very poor communication between food banks and pantries. And there's very little coordination between pantries and their users. So what Baguette does is it allows pantries to request specific most needed items to food banks in their next shipment, and also tells them, hey, we have too much of this, so don't send us this. And it allows them to send a bunch of data that's collected to the banks, like user served, user growth, volume of food doled out, etc. And then on the user side of things, you're able to use the application to book appointments and find local pantries, and also set your dietary restrictions such as allergens and whatnot. And then on the food pantry side of things, that's kind of like the middleman for everything, right? So we focus on that side of things. We allow them to manage their inventory. That's what the application is centered around. That's what allows the data to be generated. And we allow them to manage user appointments and obviously maintain a relationship with their food suppliers through the application. So it really ties in the 3 aspects of what this ecosystem looks like. And it wouldn't be possible without sort of all 3 levels being addressed. And that's kind of the issue today, the existing applications only serve one side of the equation, which leaves holes.
Yeah, so Cesar, I would assume that, one of the problems is that food pantries, they don't have a lot of money to buy like an inventory management system or do any of the other stuff that Rohan was talking about. Is that something that you guys discovered in your research to be true? And if so, how do you deal with that with your software?
So that is absolutely true. I mean, a lot of these companies or pantries just use like cool sheets, literally a piece of paper to like keep track of everything. So the way we modeled this was we would have food banks pay for this. So they would pay for however many licenses they need. On average, a food bank has about 150 food pantries in their network. And it's not out of the realm of possibility. Food banks can have revenues of like 25 million and usually in a surplus of around 9 million every year. And you can find all that like on their websites. They have their your taxes available. But it would be, I kind of lost track of your question there.
No, I was just saying that, I mean, it sounds like, you know, that your customers probably don't have the extra capital that they need to invest in these kinds of like inventory management systems or any of the type of software that you guys are building. So it sounds like you guys are dealing with that. And so how did you go about creating like a pricing model for this, or making it so that it's something that is obtainable by your customers?
Yeah, so particularly on pricing, there are low siloed operations, and some of them have extremely high prices. There's some for food banks, some for food pantries, and we are trying to focus on making this affordable. So we went ahead and calculated it says like the lowest possible price where we can still continue to scale over time. And it's just calculating our infrastructure cost, whatever it would cost for like server, API, development, some marketing. So we go ahead and gather that up. And even then, we were told by Jeff Greenberg that our infrastructure cost was a little high. Like realistically, once we was launched, it'd be much lower. So looking great where we can possibly even bring that further down. At the moment, we have it at $65 per pantry, and it's fairly affordable compared to the competition. Like, for instance, Agilent, you would have to call in for a quote, but we know that Pantry Soft needs to be paying almost $300 a month.
And specific to your question, Travis, about how we're able to make it affordable for pantries, because you had mentioned that pantries can't afford it. That's true. It's through food banks. We actually offer, the way our pricing works is that we offer licenses to food banks. Food banks have about 150 pantries that they serve each. And so as opposed to putting the price burden on a local food pantry where people have to go, and it's a volunteer run operation, we put the price burden on the food bank. Food banks is where all the food is derived from. A lot of the money grants are derived from. So the LA Food Bank had a surplus of about $9 million in the previous operating year. And by putting the price burden on LA Food Bank, they're able to buy our licenses in bundles and distribute those licenses to their network of food pantries. And obviously we start with a trial access, but because of that, the price burden isn't necessarily placed on your local pantry that barely has enough money to keep the lights on. It's on the food bank, which is able to tolerate that kind of expense because they receive private donations, they receive federal grants, and also sort of self-sufficient pantries such as college pantries, high school, university pantries. We're able to market directly to them because those are customers that can pay for themselves.
Gotcha. So you guys identified that food banks, right, are the ones that can actually make a little bit of, I guess the correct term would be profit in this situation. And so they're the ones that could actually bear the cost of it. And it's not that expensive. I mean, you're not talking about much money here. What was it, $65 a month?
Yeah, that's what we're marketing now.
Yeah, so that's not bad. And then
Per pantry per month.
Per pantry per month. So a food bank, they may work with what, 25
Yes.
different pantries. So okay, I mean that's a little bit of money, but I mean if you have profits of $9 million and then you have this piece of software that is going to make the whole operation work more efficiently and effectively. I mean that's not that much to pay, and it's I would assume that that's a high enough number where you guys are going to be making a little bit of money off of this, right? And so at the end of the day, the people who are the end users who are getting their food from food pantries, they're getting the kinds of foods that they need and they want so that they can thrive or at least get something that is healthy for them. Correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, we have fairly large margins because we use a SaaS model. So especially as we scale, those margins get larger, which allow us to sort of play with the numbers a little bit.
Gotcha. So when you guys were doing your research, did you go out and you guys said that a couple of you have used food pantries in the past. Did you go out and talk with people who use food pantries themselves and food banks to enrich your business plan and make it more robust?
Yeah, interestingly, my entire household, I live in a student household of 5 individuals. We have like a schedule, we have a group chat where it's like we all go to the pantry to get groceries. And so that has been the case for like a year for me. And Cesar, I know he and his partner use the Cal Poly Pomona and the CSUF food pantries. So outside of that, we spoke to Bernadette Legas, who is a supervisor at our CSUF food pantry, sort of to understand what her difficulties might be. We had a long interview with her to sort of get to understand what her side of the issues might be. And so we really focused on what are the users of the food pantries issues, and then what are the issues that the food pantry itself faces. So for the next step of our operation, it would be to get that side of the equation for food banks and understand where their issues might lie. But as far as our field research was concerned, it was really sort of people that we were intimately acquainted with, my housemates, Cesar and his partner, what issues we saw in using these various pantries, and then obviously understanding what the pantry is struggling with themselves through Bernadette Legas.
And that is definitely something that we are working on as the next steps. We had a lot of contacts now for food banks that as a result of this competition in San Jose. So we're looking to reach out and then either get a just interview, talk to them, figure out what their problems are specifically, and if there are other things that we completely overlooked, hopefully we can find a solution for those as well.
Yeah, it's something that we teach in class, and with the other startups that I work with, it's get out that minimum viable product, that MVP. And so, I mean, this would be sort of like your way into that business, right? And then you could add on more stuff as you go on, sort of like a beachhead, and then you expand out from there. So on that point, Alan, you said that you worked a lot on the user interface for the app, and so can you tell me a little bit about that? What were some of the issues that you had to overcome, and what's the current status of all of that?
Right. So when it comes to the user application, we were sort of just bouncing around like different ways they could interact with it. Like first we were thinking of just a mobile application, a website, or just like a hybrid between those. And well, when we were deciding this, we started a web application where it's both the website and easily accessible through phones. That way, so that pantry coordinators can easily pull out their phone and modify their inventory in an instant. Users don't necessarily have to download like an application through the App Store. They could visit our website and overall make the experience less tricky, less complex, and just straightforward as possible. As for the design, we definitely bounced around a few ideas. I believe our biggest struggle was definitely the mobile first perspective, because when you first look at it at a high level, mobile screens are extremely small, right? Like you have way less, I suppose, just space compared to a laptop screen or just a big wide desktop screen. So it was definitely difficult understanding, what we should prioritize in that aspect. Like what should they see, what should they not see? And just overall relating to, that minuscule design aspects.
Yeah, but you make it sound so simple when I know it's not, because I use some of these apps and they do a really horrible job at the user experience. It's sort of like it's sort of like you're on a hunt or something, trying to figure out what you're trying to do. So how exactly did you overcome that? How'd you make it really straightforward and easy to use?
Well, I think the simplest answer I could give you is a lot of talking and a lot of arguing, right? Like Rohan and I had to go through many meetings just trying to figure out like what we should prioritize, like a few arguments here and there, that sort of deal. But in the end, it's really just a lot of, I guess, research, seeing like what fits, trial and error, and well, just talking it through.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it probably wasn't arguments. It was just, discussions, right?
Oh yeah, just discussions, no arguments here.
Oh yeah, definitely discussions.
Well, hey, you know what? I mean, that's the process, right? It's an iterative process. You're not going to get it right the first time, and if you think you did, and you go live with that, you're probably going to, be sorely disappointed. So I don't think we've talked specifically about the competition, but let's start off with the first one. So you guys, you entered a Cal State Fullerton engineering and computer science competition. Can one of you tell me a little bit about that experience, and then we'll go on to the big Sunstone competition after that.
Yeah, ESJ was definitely the first big milestone for us. We had no expectations going into it. We just wanted to sort of come up with something unique, come up with something interesting, sort of just be creative about it. And that experience was so formative for us because one of our group members who's not here today, her name is Ashley. It was her, myself, Alan, Cesar. We kind of stumbled upon this idea, and so we didn't have very long to work. We had maybe at tops 3.5 weeks, I want to say, and this was around midterms too, I want to say. So really, it was like all three of us were deep diving into like research for like the first 2 weeks. We were just trying to get all the information we could possibly get. This is when we were doing the interview with Bernadette, and so we really didn't have anything down, like really down as far as a solution to this until like 2 weeks out. And like by then we knew what we wanted to do. It just hadn't been put onto paper yet, put onto screens yet. And so at that point, it was just starting to put puzzle pieces together. So we had to start working on the mock-up, start working on various aspects of the application. And we had to start wondering as to like, how are things going to tie together in our application? How are we going to, we were only given 5 minutes on stage to explain this entire environment to the judges. How are we going to condense what we have into 5 minutes? So then it was a matter of pitch and getting down sort of our script and dividing the script into between me, Alan, and Ashley, who were presenting that day. And that took like, we literally pulled all-nighters at McCarthy Hall to get that down in one of those study rooms. We were just sort of constantly, our biggest issue is our pitch was taking like 7 minutes, and we have 5. So we have to cut down material, but then this is important to talk about. So how do we not take that? So it's like, that was the issue there. But that was what that process was like. And then ESJ rolls around, the competition day rolls around, and we were so nervous. We go on stage and we knock it out of the park. The judges had like very few questions because we had done such a fantastic job of using the screen real estate on the power slides to sort of put down all the pertinent material and then sort of have, you know, good communication with them. So coming out of it, still no expectations because competition, you know, but we ended up winning first place. And that kind of blew our minds a little bit. You know, we ended up going to get some Korean barbecue after, you know, and as a bit of a celebration. And yeah, that was that.
That sounds good. Yeah, no, 5 minutes, you know, if you're just watching this and you don't normally give presentations, you could think that that's a long time, but it really isn't. I mean, it's like you say, hello, here's my name is, you know, Travis Lindsay, and this is the company we're working on. Nice to meet you. I mean, it's not that much more time. So really to do a good job at explaining your business and who you are, why it's the right time for it. I mean, that takes a lot of effort and time to do right. And then you guys said that you were working in McCarthy Hall. Is it still haunted?
I'm gonna leave that to Alan because he's had a few experiences now.
Alan.
Oh, it most definitely is haunted. And I don't know why Rohan's saying I faced a few of these occurrences. He's personally faced a few, but I would like to set the record straight and say it is still haunted.
What was that, Rohan?
I've faced those experiences. I just have rational explanations for them. That's the difference, I guess.
Okay. No, I mean, I you know, when I was a student at Cal State Fullerton, I actually had classes there. I think I taught maybe 1 or 2 classes there as well. Yeah, there's something going on there. Maybe there, you know, Rohan, maybe there is rational experience. I'm not sure, but something's going on. All right, so let's leave the haunted confines of Cal State Fullerton and, you know, go on to San Jose, the Sunstone CSU startup launch competition. When did you guys find out about that, and what was the process, you know, to go from, you know, where you were at Cal State Fullerton to finishing in 3rd place at this competition in your track and winning, I believe it was $5,000. Cesar, can you get us started off on this one?
Yeah, so we were invited to pitch once again to the professors to hopefully go to this competition in the first place. And we kind of hurriedly put together something like we kind of just completely skipped over anything financials. Like we don't know anything about this, so like let's just kind of leave it in their hands. Like if we get picked, hopefully you guys help us to like finish this part since we had no knowledge. So we just kind of tweaked it, tried to make it like why it was desirable. And then after we did that, we were like so dejected. We just felt like, oh, man, this. We were able to see a couple of the other groups present, like, oh, they had numbers, they like had some projections going, but we ended up getting picked the next day. And what was it, 2, 3 weeks from then to the actual competition?
3 weeks.
Yeah, and it was just plenty of meetings with mostly Jeff and Atul to like get everything together, kind of understand what this is, since we were like just almost ready to nerd out about every little thing inside the application, like, oh, we're gonna do this with the server and the app's gonna look like this and every button does. But no, no, no. You just kind of mention why it benefits the user and then keep moving through. So there were like 2, 3 hour plus long meetings a week, try to get all that together, and a lot of late nights to put that down on the slides and find references and continue building that out so that we understood everything. Once we actually got there, it was a lot of fun.
It sounded like a lot of fun. Alan, tell me about the day of the Sunstone CSU startup launch competition. Were there a bunch of nerves? Were you ready to go? Any issues? What was it like?
Right. At least for Sunstone, I actually decided to stay back so that I would be able to present, I suppose, our product to a different showcase here at Cal State Fullerton. At least for Sunstone, I believe like Rohan and Cesar, who actually went to San Jose, could speak a little bit more about that. But if you would like to hear more about my perspective, I would love to talk about it a little bit later.
Sure, yeah, we'll talk about that later. I had a 2 in 3 chance of actually, asking that question to somebody who was there, but I messed it up. So Rohan, same question.
Yeah. Day of competition, wake up kind of calm. It's not that bad. I'm feeling calm. I'm feeling good because the night before we were in Jeff's room, sort of practicing everything. I mean, if you've met Jeff Greenberg, you'll know one thing about him is he will not hesitate to point out your flaws. And I love that about him because that's what gave me confidence going into the competition. So by the time the day had rolled around, feeling pretty good. We walked to San Jose from our hotel. It's not even that far. It's all great. We get to the room where the ceremony is about to start. We get breakfast, and that's when my stomach feels funny. Like I'm eating like these like melon slices, sorry. And man, those melons, there was something wrong with them. I don't know what they put in those, but they did not taste right.
Yeah, that was a rookie mistake, Rohan. You never eat before a big presentation.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on there. Cesar said he was having some trouble with his coffee or something, so I figured it was something they did and it wasn't us. That's my story. I'm gonna stick to it. But yeah, I mean, after that, the gap between the opening ceremony and the start of our presentation, we were third, I think, to go up. So it wasn't very long. We were kind of running between the other CSUF group. We wanted to support them, so we went to see their presentation. They were going second, and so we ran back to our room at like halfway through theirs, so we could be there in time. And we just went up on stage and began the presentation. So thankfully, there wasn't too long to simmer in that discomfort. But the discomfort was there. But I think the preparation for that day sort of allowed us to push through because we had confidence in our preparation, and that made all the difference.
Absolutely. And so Cesar, when did you guys find out that you had placed third place? And tell me a little bit about that. What was going through your head at that
time? Honestly, a little shocked. They had a little ceremony right towards the end after lunch, and we were the very last group to be announced, so that was also pretty, you're just watching everybody else go up, get their awards for their track, and it's like, oh, man, there are 10 minutes till we find out. Yeah. But yeah, getting third place, still like nice hearing Fullerton get called out like that. It's like, Cal State Fullerton. And it's like, oh, all right, let's go. And it's really great, like shaking all the judges' hands and like being able to talk to them afterwards as well, like getting some feedback, getting their cards. So like, oh, like definitely reach out. Like we want to help. Like knowing that this will keep moving forward, especially with like other people we can rely on. So it's really exciting and yeah, pretty shocking. I don't know, it's great.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been too shocking. I mean, you guys put in the work. I mean, it sounds like, having a 3-week heads up on all this stuff actually works out well for you guys. So 3 weeks for the Cal State Fullerton competition, 3 weeks for the Sunstone one. And then Alan, I didn't know about this, but there was the other thing that you were talking about. What was it, a showcase at Cal State Fullerton while these guys were up in San Jose?
Right. I believe the showcase is called the ECS Student Innovation Showcase. They went through a few name changes, so I'm not too quite familiar with what it currently is called, but I want to say it's the Student Innovation Showcase. Essentially, well, we created a poster board describing more about Baguette for a previous competition known as SCAR. Here at Cal State Fullerton. And well, I think one really important thing that I want to essentially mention here is that we all believe in baguette, right? We believe that this is a prevalent problem that needs to be solved. So, well, when I heard that they were going to San Jose, I heard about this little innovation showcase and well, decided to, stay back and actually talk more about it, right? I want more people to hear about it. I want to know that this problem is going to be solved. And well, that's essentially my mindset behind that. I stayed behind, went to the showcase, talked to more people about it, got feedback, and just overall felt really well about, I guess, the product and such.
No, that's huge. I mean, so one of the things a lot of startups overlook is, actually, getting the word out. And so whether it's at competitions or whether it's talking with customers or, showcases, whatever the situation may be, that's a big part of the battle, because if nobody knows who you are, you're not going to get any traction. So as this interview winds down, I'll leave you guys with one, maybe two more questions. So what's in the future for all of you guys? I guess we'll take it one at a time. Is it baggage? Is it, I know graduation is about a year away for all of you, so that's another big milestone. So Cesar, how about you start? What's up ahead for you?
I'm honestly really excited to finish the development on Baguette. So about a year out. Hoping
Shoot,
to also
I'm sorry, I said baggage again. I'm thinking about something else. Sorry about that.
it's all right. Hoping to also get an internship next summer, since I technically have a year and a half left, still a junior though. So get an internship, get some more work experience under the belt, some more in real world environment, and hopefully launch this at least locally to get this in the hands of somebody, like have this actually help solve a problem. That's what we're really excited about, since this whole idea to us is still very new and we're like kind of adapting to the idea of like, yeah, this really can be a huge product, but we want to push through production, get more like feedback on this, have more people like help us see what the viability of all of this really is.
Very cool. Thank you, Cesar. Rohan, what's in store for you, and what do you see as the future for Baguette?
Right, for myself, it's somewhat similar as the typical computer science student, just continuing to develop and hone my skills in computer science myself. But thankfully, that seems to be going pretty well. So just continue on that path, gain industry experience, be doing some research with some professors. So that'll keep happening. And as far as Baguette is concerned, that's kind of like that's our other focus at this point. It's like two parallel paths: it's school and then Baguette. So I think the way it's going to go down with that is definitely push through our sprints to have an MVP out by end of year, maybe early next year. Get that out of the door, and thankfully we've sort of accumulated contacts now through San Jose and whatnot, to where we can reach out to food banks. We've had a few people tell us that they know they have food bank contacts, directors, and procurement managers and whatnot. So we'll be able to deploy this somewhere and get feedback on it. So that's the steps for what Baguette will be: get an MVP out of the door, get some feedback, and following that, we'll have to see where that takes us, I suppose.
Awesome. Thank you, Rohan. Alan, how about you? What's in store for you?
Well, if I'm being honest, mostly the same thing, but looking into the future, I put a lot of thought into it, right? Like, where do I want to work? Like, what sort of projects am I interested in? Well, I think I sort of came to the conclusion that startups, the whole idea of, having just an idea and trying to make it into a reality is really appealing to me. I suppose that's one of the main reasons why Baguette sort of attracted me in the first place. Because you first have a problem, right? And well, just putting your heads together, thinking as computer scientists, thinking as business people for a second, it's very actually make this into a real thing. And well, I suppose I want to pursue that feeling. I want to pursue having to go through that whole process and making problems have solutions.
Yeah, no, I think it's great what you guys are doing with Baguette. I mean, it's a social enterprise. It's going to actually do a lot of good. The more that it gains traction in your space, and it can really make a huge amount of difference. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. Is there anything else that you guys want to share? Is there any way that people can, find you guys, either your LinkedIn's or a website for Baguette?
Yeah, thank you, Travis. This is a fantastic opportunity. And as for Baguette, we'll definitely be promoting it further. So you'll see it at other expos and innovation conferences and whatnot. But as for ourselves, certainly myself, my name, you Google my name, it's very unique. You'll find all my information just by Googling.
Fair enough. Yeah. And I guess the answer is probably the same for you guys all. And so I'll make sure to put your LinkedIn's down there and then any other information that we have. And I think that is it. Thank you all very much. And hopefully we'll, do this again in a couple of years when you guys have, started making a lot of sales. So thank you all.
Thank you so much, Travis.
Thanks, Travis.